The National Football League, NFL, is one of the most popular sporting leagues in the world. The competition between players is intense and each season a new set of stars emerge. As we look ahead to the next NFL season, it's time to take a closer look at some of the best players from around the league. Here are the top 10 NFL players in the world. From quarterbacks to wide receivers, these are some of the most talented and exciting athletes in football. 10. Dick Butkus. Nicknamed the Monster of the Midway due to his defensive ability. He played for the Chicago Bears for 8 years, 1965 to 1973. During his time there, it was reported that he created fear in opponents by snarling at them to intimidate them. He's not just a defender but also an intimidator. He possesses very quick feet which allow him to get to the ball quickly, and also his sense of awareness was top-notch. In his 8 years with the side, he forced 49 turnovers, 22 interceptions and 27 fumble recoveries. To acknowledge his defensive ability, he was named the Defensive Player of the Year by the Pro Football Writers of America in 1970. The award for the best linebacker in various categories of play was later named after him as the Dick Butkus Award. He was also inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 1979. 9. Barry Sanders. There were many arguments as to if Sanders should be regarded as one of the top 10 best players in the history of the NFL. But considering his stats and the team he played in, he deserves to be named among the top 10. Sanders played for the Detroit Lions, a team that lacked quality, but despite this, Sanders showed what he was capable of and performed incredibly for the side. He's well known for his agility, strength, speed and balance. He retired at the age of 30, averaging 99.8 rushing yards per game. He retired as the only player to rush for 1,000 yards consecutively in each of their first 10 seasons. He's also the only player to ever rush for at least 1,500 yards in 4 consecutive seasons. Regardless of his early retirement from the sport, he's arguably one of the greatest to play the game. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2004. 8. Peyton Manning. Tagged one of the smartest players to ever grace the football pitch, he's known for being vocal and his vast knowledge of the attacking section of the game. In every team he played for, he established himself to be the most important player of the side. This was proven by the 5 Most Valuable Player awards. Most in the history of the NFL, the leadership quality he possessed is second to none, as he's known for driving his team towards victory even when things are not going well. He's second on the list of NFL's most career pass yards with 71,940 passing yards, and also the record for the most passing yards in a single season, 5,477 in the 2013 season. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2021. He's also number 1 on the list of the NFL career comeback, 43. 7. Reggie White. Reggie White during his playing days was nicknamed the Minister of Defense. He played as a defensive end for the Philadelphia Eagles, Green Bay Packers and the Carolina Panthers. As a defensive end, he arguably had one of the greatest defensive careers in the history of the NFL. He's regarded as one of the greatest and most dominant linemen to play the game. He won the Defensive Player of the Year twice. He recorded 3 sacks in a game against the England Patriots, which later became a Super Bowl record held by only him but was later tied by 3 other players. He finished his career as second on the all-time leader in sacks for his career behind Bruce Smith with 2 less and 4 seasons. 6. Walter Payton. Selected by the Chicago Bears as the 4th overall pick at the 1975 NFL Draft, and he further went on to spend his entire career with the side. Walter is not just a player but a player with a very powerful speed. In his career, he went on to set many records, including when he became the then leading career rusher in yards. He recorded a single-game rushing record with 275 yards against the Minnesota Vikings. The record went ahead to stand for 23 years. Not only is he good on the pitch, he's also a philanthropist, whom the Man of the Year award for 2000 was named after him. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1993. He's the second leading rusher in the history of the NFL, 16726, and fourth most rushing touchdowns in the history of the NFL. 5. Aaron Donald. A lot of fans might be wondering how come James will make the list of the top 10 players of all time even when he's still playing, or because he's just spent 8 years as an NFL player. But the truth is he deserved to be on the list. He's so good that he's already earned a spot in the first ballot Hall of Fame nomination even after he just spent 7 years playing football. Ever since his debut in 2014, he'd not missed a Pro Bowl and has been a regular selection on the All-Pro selection every year excluding his debut season when he was the Defensive Rookie of the Year. Depending on his consistency, he might become the greatest defensive player ever to play the game. In just 1 year he tied the NFL record for the most Defensive Player of the Year awards, 3 with Lawrence Taylor and J.J. Watt. He currently sits 9th in career tackles for a loss, and if he continues this form then he can become the all-time leader in less than 4 seasons. 4. Lawrence Taylor. Played for the New York Giants during his playing days as a linebacker known for changing the face of the game, including the position and offensive scheme of the game forever to date. His incredible skills helped change the game, and he was unanimously agreed to be the greatest linebacker of all time and arguably the greatest defensive player of all time. He remains one of the 2 defensive players to ever win the MVP award. His contribution to the game and dominance earns him a top 5 place on this list of the top 10 NFL players of all time. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame in the year 1999. 3. Jim Brown. In many people's opinion, Sander is a better running back than Brown was because he left the game earlier, but I disagree with this. Most of them forgot that even with him leaving the game at the age of 29, he left the game at a very higher height to his career. Despite playing just 9, he remains the only player in the history of the NFL with a career average of 100 yards per game and over 5 yards per carry. During his playing days, rushing the ball accounted for 54.8% of all offensive play calls. To date, the player in the history of the NFL has shown the kind of dominance shown in his position the way he did during his 9 good years of playing. 2. Jerry Rice. Jerry played for the San Francisco 49ers for the majority of his career. He also featured for the Oakland Raiders and the Seattle Seahawks. Rice is known as the single greatest wide receiver in the history of the NFL. Playing for San Francisco, he's known for catching passes from the likes of Joe Montana and Steve Young. He's arguably the most dangerous open field and after-the-catch receiver in the history of football. He holds a lot of records that only a godlike athlete can surpass, all his records and accolades that he gathered during his playing days. He's the NFL career leader in reception, 1,549, receiving yards, 22895, and receiving touchdowns, 197. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2010. 1. Tom Brady. Tom played as a quarterback for the New England Patriots. He made his debut for the side in 2000, and ever since he made his debut he's been on top form and shown the whole world what his capacity is. Even outside football, Brady is arguably the best story in the history of the sport, considering how he starts his career. He's one of the most consistent players in the history of the game. In his 20 years of playing in the NFL, he competed in 10 Super Bowls, and of which he won 7 out of 10. He currently holds the record for the most passing yards and touchdowns in the history of the NFL. Apart from being the player with the most wins in the history of the NFL, he's also the record holder for the most passing touchdowns in a season and also leading the largest comeback in the history of the game, throwing for the most yards in the Super Bowl history. Holds NFL record for most games won by a QB, 207. Only QB to have 3 consecutive games W/300 plus passing yards, 3 plus TD passes and 0 interceptions, tied for most Pro Bowl selections, 14. holds NFL record for most postseason games played. 40, holds NFL record for most postseason TD passes. 73. Oldest QB to win a Super Bowl. 41 years, 6 months. He's arguably the greatest player to ever play the game. The NFL is full of extraordinary talent, and the players listed here are only a few examples of some of the best in the league. From their personal accomplishments to their incredible athleticism, these top 10 NFL players have earned their place among the best players in the world. It's an exciting time to be a fan of these incredible athletes, and each fan can look forward to watching them continue to excel in their respective fields.